And now we go to the second part of the lecture on cell types and modifications. And we will now talk about the modifications we can find in different plants and animals. Okay? So we started off with cilia. Okay? Cilia are very short filament-like structures that are 2 to 20 micrometers in length. They are very numerous and are found all over the cell surface. They are also used for motility and sensing the environment. So it's being used for the cells to move around or to get a sense of what is happening outside its environment. Okay? Cilia are made up of microtubules, and I hope you can recall the lecture on the cytoskeleton. What are these microtubules? Okay? So again, these are large filament-like structures that build up these cilia. And we can also see the cilia in paramecium, which I hope you have observed in the prepared slides in your laboratory experience last time. Okay? So that paramecium is surrounded by very small cilia. It could be thousands or probably millions of them that surround the entire cell. Okay? So that would allow the cell to move and at the same time sense the environment around it. Okay? And after the cilia, we now have your flagella, which are usually longer than cilia in terms of length. So they tend to be 20 to 100 micrometers in terms of their length. And compared to cilia, they are fewer in number. Okay, so take note, if your cilia, you tend to be short, but you tend to be numerous. You tend to be many. You tend to be surrounding the whole cell. But for flagella, they tend to occupy just one part of the cell. Okay, and they are few in number. And at the same time, they are longer. Okay, but just like the cilia, they're very similar in terms of function. They're used for moving and sensing the environment, just like the slides or the figures shown on the right side of this screen. Okay, we can see the euglena below, and I think this is a sperm cell above that would wag its tail. Okay, and that's its flagella. Okay, and flagella, like in your cilia, okay, are also made up of microtubules that would allow this sturdy structure for the movement of the cell. Okay, so euglena, which is actually a photosynthetic unicellular organism, okay, as shown on the right side of the screen, has also these microtubule-based flagella. And now we have the pseudopodia, or in singular, pseudopodium. Unlike the cilia and flagella, these structures are actually temporary extensions of the cytoplasm. Okay? Your cilia and flagella are actually permanent. Once they are formed, they would stay there in the cell until the cell dies. But for pseudopodia, once they are formed, they will later become gone. Okay? Until such a time the amoeba will grow it again, and then, again, it's temporary, so it will be gone after a while, and then it has to regenerate its pseudopodia again. Okay? Now, the pseudopodia are being used by the amoeba to move and to feed on organisms. So as we can see here on this slide, we will see a GIF of this amoeba feeding on paramecium. Okay, the paramecium is surrounded with very, very small cilia. But take note, the amoeba is the larger organism that would make its pseudopodia. Okay, it will extend its pseudopodia like that, and it will later feed on the paramecium so that it will enclose the paramecium inside and then digest it for its nutrition. Okay, so again, the pseudopodia is being used for movement. So it will extend its pseudopodia and then move to the next part and then extend its pseudopodia again until it moves to the other areas. Okay? Unlike cilia and flagella, the pseudopodia are actually assisted by microfilaments. These are smaller structures compared to your microtubules. Okay? And again, pseudopodia are found in amoeba and amoeba-like organisms. So another cell modification we can have is the cuticle. And the cuticle is actually a protective and a waxy or hard layer that cover the epidermis of a plant, invertebrate, or shells. They form the outer layer of our hair, including the dead skin at the base of our nails. Okay? So the cuticle is actually a waxy structure, and when it's waxy, it tends to become waterproof. So that's why, okay, when raindrops fall down on the leaves, okay, the leaves won't absorb the water. Okay, the water will just be expelled. Okay, it will just drop off from that leaf. Okay, the same is true when you throw water on the shells or even the coverings of insects or, say, for example, crabs. They will just, don't absorb the water. Okay? At the same time, the same is true with our hair and our nails. They have also this waterproof coating caused by the cuticle. Okay? So here is the plant, as we can see. And again, for all plants, their leaves are actually waxy. So when they're waxy, they're waterproof. They prevent water from entering or even exiting from the plant easily. Okay? So I hope you'll realize the essence of the cuticle. Okay? And then we have the root hairs that are found in the root system of the plants. So they tend to occur below ground. Your cuticle are found on leaves that occur above ground. Okay? So root hairs are the lateral extensions of the single root cell. Okay? Say for example you have a main root. This main root is made up of thousands or millions of root cells, no? And the root cells at the epidermis or the covering of that root, okay, will grow an extension like a pseudopod, which then becomes a root hair. And that root hair needs to enlarge the surface area where water and minerals can get inside the plant. So the more you have root hairs that seep through the soil, the more surface area you open for water and minerals to get into the plant. Okay? So just imagine if a plant lacks root hairs. What would happen to the efficiency of its water and mineral intake? Okay, I hope you can imagine that for the plant. Okay, what could be its benefit for the plant? Okay? And then we have trichomes. Okay, so these are actually lateral extensions that would emerge also from the epidermal cells of above ground parts of the plant. So they're found on the stems, leaves, flowers, or even fruits. So in this case, as we can see on this slide, we have a figure here of a microscopic view of, I think, a leaf or a stem with these pointed structures. Those pointed structures are actually trichomes, okay? And trichomes often act as mechanical or chemical defense. So in this case, I do believe it's a mechanical defense because of its spiky structures, okay? That when insects land on them, okay, they might be injured, okay? But sometimes they would release chemical defenses, no, that would deter the herbivores or even other animals that would feed on it, okay, away. Okay? So, for the plants, we have the cuticle, okay, that would allow the waterproof covering of the plants, the root hairs that would allow more surface area for water and minerals to get into the roots, and trichomes for the defense structures of the above ground plant parts. Okay? And for some unicellular organisms, we have the mucilage, or what we know as the mucilaginous sheath. Okay? This is often found in algae. Okay? Take note that algae are not plants. Okay? So they're plant-like eukaryotes, but they are technically not plants because of their evolutionary traits. Now, the mucilage are being formed as an outer covering of the cells. Now, these are found outside the cell walls and act as a protective barrier for all the cells. It allows the exchange of material between the cells that are enclosed inside this mucilage, and at the same time, when it is wet, they tend to become slippery. So when you go through floors that are covered with algae, and sometimes when it is raining, you will notice that the floor becomes slippery. You know, it's a rough floor made up of concrete, but because of algae, they tend to become slippery when it is wet. Okay? So this is how a mucilage looks like when you have more species, okay, or more organisms that would clump together. So they make this whole mucilaginous sheath, as you can see in nostoc balls. Okay? Nostoc is a type of photosynthetic bacteria. And when they form into clumps, they would tend to form this whole mucilaginous sheath, which allow a protective barrier against other organisms that might feed on it later on. Okay? And now here's a question. Okay? Cell modifications are actually evolutionary products that make organisms to be more fit in their environment. So for example, we have the cuticle that would enable protection, or root hairs to make nutrition more efficient. Now, if you're given an opportunity to modify your cells for a particular purpose, what modification will this be and why? Would you rather have a mucilage around your body so you can make yourself a bit slippery? Okay? Or would you rather have trichomes so that no one can touch you? Okay? Or perhaps you might need root hairs. I don't know for what reason. Or a cuticle. Maybe around your ears or eyes. I don't know. But perhaps you can think about this. Okay? And that's the end of this very quick lecture on the different cell modifications we have. I hope you learned something new, and I wish you luck for your first quarterly achievement test this October. Good luck!